Well, I'm not sure any Ghanaian is very excited with what we've seen so far with the Black Stars. Maybe in the last 5 games, you can add the friendly games to it. It's one that calls for serious introspection. Everybody needs to think about it again, but more importantly, we need to lay the facts bare. Now, there are 2 key things I want to say before I introduce my guests. We're going to have this good discussion. The first thing is that as Ghanaians, we all want the Black Stars to qualify for Qatar, but we have to be blunt. We have to speak the truth so we understand where we are. And for those of you who think that all the Black Stars need to do to qualify to Qatar 2022 is to top the group, then we have to remind you that there are 10 groups of 4. All 10 winners will move into the 3rd stage, which is a 2-leg playoff. And when you win that, you qualify because we have 5 spots for the World Cup. And that's just for you to understand the enormity of the kind of job that we've got to do. Joining me to do this analysis, it's going to be an interesting one. So you just have to get ready for it. We're hitting it as hard as we can. Jerome, Otchere, editor, Kotoko Express. Jerome, how are you doing?
Well, and you?
Yes, I'm good. It's good to get you after we have watched this. And Papa will tell, I'll introduce Papa. Papa will tell you that we are tempted to do this discussion after the Ethiopia game. And I said, Papa, you know what, let's wait, let the South Africa game come. And then you can put all the ideas together. Papa, Papa Poku joins me at Wontumi Sports. Papa, I think we're right in the end to allow the South Africa game to happen before we start down.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We have perspective and context now, so we can't base our analysis on just one game. We've had 2, and we've completed the first block. They are in 3 blocks of 2 to make 6. So we are good to go, just that I'm sober.
Excellent. Yeah, that's the point. But so Jerome, let me start with Gary told me something a few days ago, and he says that these days he is watching the Black Stars and he's a bit distant. He's had to deal with that as an Arsenal fan. It looks like it has spilled over into dealing with that as a Black Stars fan. So he watches the game and he's not that attached. Jerome, when you watch the team play, and it's good that I have Jerome and Papa myself, because these are men who know a lot of the people in there. Like, we have friends in the Black Stars. We have good friends, around the national team. So you put all of this in context. Now, Jerome, when you watch the Black Stars play, how do you feel?
I don't feel anything. The kind of love or attention, or let me say attachment, that was between the Black Stars and I, or let me say between me and the Black Stars, has come down considerably. And it is not just a feeling I have. I think it's a feeling that runs through the entire country. I haven't traveled across the country to gauge this, but I can use a few places in Accra today as an example. An hour before the game, I was in town and I was driving through town. I can tell you that people didn't even know the Black Stars has a match, talk less, a World Cup qualifier. There were places where people had gathered talking about the match, and you could hear people saying, such is the feeling Ghanaians have when it comes to the Black Stars at this moment. And I'll tell you, but for the fact that I have written on football for almost 20 years or more, or I am passionate about local football, for that matter, when the Black Stars is playing, it's difficult to say you won't watch. I probably will join such people. And I don't have this feeling because of anything, but the fact that consistently the Black Stars continue to decline. And when that decline, it's progressive, it is very difficult for anyone to sustain his or her interest in such a team. I think we are, by default, supposed to support the Black Stars, even if we are not football journalists or we are not sports journalists. By default, because we are Ghanaians, when the Black Stars are playing, you would want to see Ghana win. And that's why some of us will continue to be, try to be attached to a team that as much as you seek to be closer to it is rather running away from you by virtue of the performances they put up. And so you're asking about, how I feel about this team. I just can say that, look, I'm distant, just like
Gary did say. Gary
Yeah.
did say. Papa, let's start from this point. At this moment, I mean, what the public ratings for CK Akonnor has probably gone into the negatives. You're sure about that? But he didn't start there. He started at the point where a lot said, "Oh, let's give the Ghanaian a chance. Let's give him a chance. Let's give him a chance." Can you just take us through how CK Akonnor as a coach has lost it so far as the fans are concerned and in the eyes? And you can see that across social media. And of course, the oratory everywhere. You can see that is the kind of narrative that is going out, that a lot of people have lost hope in CK Akonnor. Now, how did he lose it, or how did he find himself here at this point?
Well, I would want to say it started from the transition from Kwesi Appiah to CK Akonnor. I mean, he was an assistant coach to Kwesi Appiah, and people felt that, look, at this point, if Kwesi Appiah is not going to continue, then he's the right man to take over. So they expected some degree of continuity from him. That's far we've come. But you look at his first two call-ups, the Qatar and Mali games, it looked like he was trying to put his own imprint on the Black Stars. And then it quickly led to concerns being raised in the public about the nature of call-ups and the fact that he had worked with the FA president at Dreams and was even managed by Proton Sport as well at some point in time. So some negativity started coming in. Then came the call-up for one Eugene from Israel, where it was out in a very defiant mode by the coach that, look, I called this boy, I know his qualities and this and that are what he brings to the table. He usually takes him on a two-legged international friendly and he doesn't play him. Then it comes out that one of the ex-footballers who is very close to him, he had run to him to confide that boy, he didn't even know him. They called him for him and he decided to use him. So the cracks started appearing. Results weren't coming in. And the times that we got results in the African Cup of Nations qualifiers, we found out we were not convincing enough. We were not playing as well as we wanted to play, but we were getting results, and that's the currency of football. By getting results, he was on the up, but still people had doubts about him and the quality of job he could do. But they gave him the benefit of the doubt because his task was to qualify us for the AFCON. He did that. So you couldn't hold it against him. Now the World Cup qualifier comes in. People still have their doubts about CK Akonnor. And his tenure has not been helped with the issues of COVID and the inability to play games for over a period of 15 months. So he starts the World Cup qualifier, and genuinely people think that, look, this coach can't take us far. It is also mitigated by the fact that a lot of our players, the quality ones, are out of the team currently. And COVID issues had made it difficult for players to travel to areas that are on the red list, like South Africa. So after the Ethiopia game, we found out that we didn't play so well, but sticking to the narrative under CK, we got the win, and the currency of football is the result. So the result was all right. But all of a sudden, arrogance crept in. In the build-up to this game, the playing body and the technical team used the currency of results in the Ethiopia game to tell Ghanaians that they shouldn't be too worried about the sort of football they play. Any identity football, quality champagne football, tiki-taka, agro ball, as we would call it with him, should be mitigated by the results we get on the pitch. If you play all the best football and at the end of the day you don't get a result, it's nothing, it's futile. And then they pointed to Ethiopia, who came here to play a possessive game and ended up going back to Addis Ababa with nothing. So the coach says this, and then the goalkeeper, who is also the standing captain for today, Richard Ofori, follows it up by telling Ghanaians that, look, I'm not even on social media or Twitter to hear these things. All Ghana wants is results, win matches for them, and they'll be okay. So we went into South Africa on the basis of currency, which is results. And the results had brought some degree of arrogance into the talk of both the technical team and the playing body. Now, the currency eludes them, and their style of play wasn't any better because at the end of the day, they didn't even have a single shot on target. And now, everything is going downhill. So they set themselves up to fail. They got a bit arrogant, in my opinion, after the Ethiopia game with their public pronouncement. I felt they could have said these things behind the scenes, but not in public. And now here we are. They thought they were coming out with a defiant talk, but they've succumbed in a very poor way to a team that not long ago they got a draw from and prevented them from qualifying for the African Cup of Nations. Now that team got Hugo Bruce, and they've been able to beat the Black Stars, who still have their coach. So clearly, the change for South Africa benefited them. And we stuck with our coach and found out that the coach who played us today outwitted us. So now it's all falling on him. South Africa have all the constants except their coach. You have all the constants. Still, you didn't get the results. So the currency is out. CK Akonnor is in trouble.
Let's do this, because I want all those watching this to have a fair idea that we would give everybody the chance and try to make this sense. So, Jerome, can we start by attempting to defend CK? We'll come to his tactics and his selection and everything, but well, let me just put it out there. It's something that Jerome was thinking about already. He was thinking about putting it out, but it's all right. But we have to go to selection. I mean, the process of selection, because the Ghana Football Association president was on Joy FM, and he said that the selection process is not necessarily born of the coach. There is a team. Well, and I remember, Papa, we had a discussion on Sports Review about who are the team. Were they technical people, or they were Ghana Football Association, ESCO members, or who were the team? How technical were they? Well, so far as we are concerned, Jerome, we have seen the job that the team has done. How much do we take away from CK Akonnor in terms of blaming him? Where does he find himself in this scenario, knowing that we have been told publicly that the selection process was not born by him?
I think a lot of the Black Stars problem starts with the commentary around the team. How people with authority or people in authority say certain things about a team. It would be naive for any one of us to think that when it comes to team selection for even club, it is merely a single coach sitting somewhere training the players and deciding who should play and who shouldn't play. It will be very naive at the top level to think that is what happens. That is not what happens. Even with this Black Stars team, I know that some of our coaches who are scouting for the team, for instance, went to Zimbabwe to watch South Africa and Zimbabwe and came in with some suggestions. I also know that some of the things these coaches came with were not even taken, because perhaps somebody thinks that, look, it's not going to work. But maybe if we had tried it, it probably would have been the game changer for us in today's game, for example. Now, to tackle your question properly, you see, the problem we have is that we all feel we know so much that we will not allow those mandated to do their work to do it, even though they have the sole mandate to get the job done. How much can we take from CK in terms of the blame here? I think because the notion has been created, or there's a notion out there that he is not fully in charge of selection, he's not fully in charge of this team, he will always have some comfort zone. Some place to go and hide and say that after. Maybe he will not say it publicly, but some of us will mount that defense for him and come out to say, after all, he's not the only one deciding on who plays. And Atta gave a very good example of how, someone was imposed on him, a player he probably wouldn't have chosen. And unfortunately for him, because of the position he occupies, he cannot also come out and say certain things. But if you watch today's game, for instance, I struggle to understand why some players, including the captain, went beyond 50, 60 minutes. After the Ethiopia game, I said that CK will have to be firm, he will have to be bold, and take, risk, gamble. If you have players you have called, and we all can see that things are not going well, and you cannot call out some of those who are not performing and risk or gamble with those on the bench that probably do not have the names that others have, then who are we going to blame? Even if there is a committee or a group of people who are selecting players for you, once you take to the field, we are not going to blame whoever selected the players or whoever made inputs into who should make up your squad. We are going to blame who is on the bench and who is issuing instructions. That's what I'm saying. Yes, we might want to give CK some room to hide in terms of how players finally get into the team. But at the end of the day, when it comes to action on the field, that 90 minutes, people will always point to you because you are the one issuing instructions.
Right.
For example, is it really true from what I saw in the Ethiopia game and what I saw this afternoon? Can anyone out there convince me that a striker like Kwame Poku cannot do something in this game? I'm not saying he should come and score, but I'm saying that when are we going to give such players the chance to also try and let us see what they can do, so that we can say that, oh, some 15, 16 years ago, there was an Asamoah who probably no one knew that he could become our top scorer today.
Yeah.
But just because we gave him the chance, he was able to build on whatever he was, whatever he did in his debut game, to the extent of scoring 50 plus goals after a decade and more. And if we are not going to gamble and give these boys the chance to also try that out, then what are we going to do? We are always going to stick to these players who are so dry. Look, I have not followed or covered the Black Stars for any long time, but this is about the most.
It's the worst team you've come across.
Not the worst team, but the game was so uninspiring. There was nothing to pick from. Look, the whole of the second half, I didn't see Ghana make any serious incursion. Something that you could tell that no, this one is ending in something we cannot share about. Atta was talking about how the South Africans have changed. I said this somewhere in the morning that if South Africa is going to win this game, they will win from the bench.
Yeah, they did.
Because in my view, psychologically, Ghana had the edge because we seem to have done better in our meetings in recent times than they have. So that psychological edge, we had it. But on the field of play, if they are able to overcome the psychological aspect and really work with their coach, Hugo Bruce is going to show some experience and overpower CK. And that's what happened.
Yeah. In fact, the scoreline was 2-0. That's the scoreline. So far as we are concerned.
No, I agree with you. That goal they disallowed. I mean, later on, I was wondering why it was disallowed.
It was 2-0.
I mean, it happens.
Gary joins us. We just spoke about Gary. Gary, can you say hello to us? Gary is.
Hi.
We can't see you though. That's the other. Okay. Yes. Hi. Gary, how are you doing? You're good. You're great.
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Gary, we're good. Yeah, Gary just finished watching the game with Bolton. Yeah, he's in Bolton. Good stuff. We'll get back to you Gary, on that. Gary's got a strong opinion on it. But Atta, I want you to make the case now. Why should we sack CK Akonnor before Gary comes in on that? Why should we sack CK Akonnor at this point?
If we really want to qualify for the for the World Cup, we need to pull the trigger right now. We tried with Kwesi Appiah after the Uganda fiasco, and we found out that the damage had been done to the point where the players couldn't recover to beat Congo here, and it caused our downfall. We went to Uganda, we got results, but the referees cheated out of that game anyway. So if we really want to qualify for the World Cup, we should pull the trigger now. Like I said, we are doing 3 blocks of 2. We've done the first block, so we are left with the October or November one, and then the March one, that would complete it. Luckily for us, we play South Africa in our last game here. The difference is just 1 point. And we can make it up on them, provided we wouldn't even lose in Ethiopia. We can have a firm grip. So I feel that if we really want to pull the trigger, it should be now. And that person can use the AFCON as a preparatory ground for the final 2 blocks. The final 2 blocks would be in March in those international friendlies. So whoever comes in now would have the benefit of playing the October or November one, and then also having the AFCON, and then playing in the March international friendlies. That would finish off the job in trying to see if we are out of this group. Honestly, even with today's result, I'm of the opinion if you get 9 points from home, you could still get a way out of this group.
Yeah.
Based on what South Africa did with Zimbabwe and the fact that it's a derby. But if we wait, a lot of things go against us. And I'm a firm believer in what happened yesterday before talking about today and then into the future. As a nation, we have a terrible record against Zimbabwe. I don't know what the Warriors have done to us. I was at the Chan in 2009 when they raised into a 2-goal lead and we had to come back 2-2. They gave us our Black Monday or Black Tuesday in Port Said in Egypt in 2006 with Benjani Mwaiwari. So look, yes, that was in the past. But in the present, they have players who are doing well. Aston Villa and Co. So if we take them for a ride, they will take us for a ride. If we want to fix this, and if we really want to pull the trigger, it is now. And then the government's position of Ghana beyond 8, we are not going outside Ghana for a technical person. Honestly, it's about time the president and those at the Jubilee House review that.
The government is already going for 8. The government has gone for 8. So soccer 8 now.
So then allow football to go for 8. Allow football to go for 8 and pay the right money. If you don't do that, and we still go about reshuffling local-based coaches, Kwesi Appiah joined by Maxwell Kunedu, later by Ibrahim Tanko. Look, we've done all this. We've shuffled the pack. Tanko was part of the scouting Jerome mentioned. He was in South Africa with the team. Either they didn't take what he said, or he didn't give them enough. There are two things here. But we've lost.
They didn't take
See it. What makes me sad, Jerome, is that Ghanaians feel today's game was an improvement on the Ethiopia one. And that's where I have my problem.
It is a serious issue. I don't know, but it's a serious issue. It was as bad.
Yeah. George, just to add something to what Atta is saying about taking the decision right now. When I heard the story of the Egyptian coach being sacked, I was like, wow, this is decisive. 4 points, and the guys feel that, look, this man is not going to take us to Qatar. He has to go now. And that is a sign telling us or showing that these guys are serious, because they feel that perhaps the quality they have, the programs they have, the plan they have, there should be something bigger than what they are seeing.
Good. But let me come to Gary. Gary, what are you taking? Is that hot coffee or what's that? Yeah, Gary, you have to unmute there because okay, good. What is that? You're taking hot coffee. Hot coffee. Good. Gary is on the view. He's on the view that Coach CK Akonnor should be sacked. Your point?
Yeah. I've just done a video that will be uploaded very soon on Joysports, and I give a bit of perspective. We've scored once in 4 matches. We've had 5 shots in 4 games. We didn't score against Ivory Coast, didn't score against Morocco, scored against Ethiopia 1, didn't score against South Africa. In all those games, not really. What, 3 against, who did we score 3 against again? Sao Tome. Most importantly, we are not playing well. So on one hand, you are asking us to look at just the results. The results say that 40% of your last 10 games did not end in wins. So what results are you asking us to look at? Body language, you speak to players, they don't trust him.
Yeah.
Most importantly for me, 1, the players don't trust him. 2, the people who gave him the job don't trust him.
Yeah.
Let me repeat. The players he is superintending over don't trust him. The people who gave him the job do not trust him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have hastily, and we know the history of Ghana football and African football in general. Once they start giving you an assistant like this, it means that, they want to help you. They don't trust you. And the assistant himself, either he's not being listened to or he himself is not doing a good job. Look, I was going to say some things, but Jerome has said it all, and Poku as well. The Ghana Beyond Aid agenda, they're using local coaches, is not working. We can bring the best local coach we have in Ghana, namely, right now, as per the last Ghana Premier League season, Samuel Boadu. It's not going to, it's not going to do much. Why? Because the people in charge, let's assume that we brought the best coach in Ghana. The thing is, George, the people in charge will not give a Ghanaian coach based in Ghana the hand to work. That is it. They will not. That is what people must understand. So you can bring Prosperity Ogum, whoever we think, they will impose players on him. That is what will happen.
Yeah.
Secondly, the depth that we need, maybe a local coach has it. I don't see it. Because I've not seen any local coach who has had the requisite experience at continental or whatever level, even in the African Champions League, CAF Confederations Cup, to say that he's taking the step up to the Black Stars. So those are my factors.
Yeah.
That is why I think 1, CK must go. 2, the agenda must be to get somebody. I mean, if you are getting a coach, get somebody and pay him well. Because we are going into an expanded AFCON. The lowliest African countries right now are paying well to have coaches come, and they will beat you because they also have players who are featuring in leagues that are probably better than the average Ghanaian player is in right now. So what is your competitive advantage? Ghana has lost the fear factor long ago. We lost the fear factor long ago. If anybody needs evidence, look at the Sao Tome game. Yeah. So that is me. And it's really
that's a good point. Papa, let's Papa, you have to unmute for me on this one. And we're good that we just went through this and as simple as it is, because when we make the point about we want a local coach, we want a Ghanaian coach. Once you have players who are applying their trade outside the country, having a feel of what top coaches do. If our coaches here don't kind of match up to the level, and I'm coming to you, Papa, because Papa, you have done your PhD and your masters, and when a lecturer walks into your class, you can size him up the first day and know that this guy was up at training grounds alone. The players know this guy, he's not up to the task. And that's what Gary was saying. That's the feeling you get around the players, whether it's right or not. But the next point Gary made here, Papa, is that the players we have in our national team, a lot of African teams can match them. Yes. So we don't have a magical or a player who is going to produce magic or everything, because you line up our players, they can produce exactly the same thing all across, the 50-something countries that we have got. Papa, this point, what do you expect the Ghana Football Association to do?
To get rid of everything they put in place currently in trying to get us back to where we were, and understand that we will need to start all over again. This experiment with that Ghana Beyond 8 coaches, the experiment with Lipet as a technical director, and everything around it must be ripped up. You rip it apart, and then you settle on somebody who will build. And that's where I agree perfectly with Gary. We are looking at somebody in the mold of Milovan Rajevac then. Somebody who will build us from the scratch. The football we played at Chan in 2009, the football Celestete and his team played in Egypt, the football we played in Angola and then in South Africa in 2010 were all identical. We had identity. So the players didn't struggle moving in between the Chan team, the senior national team, and under 20 team, also into the senior national team. It was there. Again, player profiles. Our local players didn't struggle. Let's look at Emmanuel Ajimambedu's transition from Claude Leroy to Milovan Rajevac. And he cementing his position under Govan Stevanovic. We had an identity. Samuel Nkum making the step up. The day are you making the step up? Opoku Ajman making the step up. It was quite easy for them. Jonathan Mensah, Kojo Asamoah making the step up. It was easy. Because we had a template and a plan, absorbing local talent into the national team wasn't difficult. They didn't look out of place whenever they played in there. Prime example, Liati from Brikum Chelsea to the Black Stars team in 2010. And one of the things that resonated with these people when they came down was that because they knew exactly what they were doing, they didn't allow the noise outside to pollute them. After all, the water outside the ship doesn't sink it. It's the one that gets in. We were all in this country when journalists started talking about Milovan Rajevac being a one-goal project coach. When we asked these questions, the first thing he said was that, look, we are transitioning from one era into another, from the Stephen Appiah ACN era to the Asamoah Gyan Dede era. So he need to be compact. I remember asking him, what does he mean by compact in Kumasi? And he said that a good national team is the one that is very difficult to score against. When it's difficult to break them down. It manifested in Angola. Look at how we played and how we managed to get to the final. He was resolute. At some point, we said that he had brought in an interpreter from Serbia, and he wasn't an interpreter, but rather an agent who was transferring players to Serbia. And if you were not in his agency, Milovan Rajevac wouldn't call you. He asked them to find out if the guy was an internationally accredited FIFA agent, and asked us how many players have they managed to send to Serbia, and how many of those players in the agency were playing for the Black Stars. It's still the same old players we have, and he's using them. He told us he needed Liadi because he provides stability, even though he was a right-footed player, and he could also play across the back four. And we all saw Liadi with Chelsea. So look, we need to build from the scratch, rip it up, and then find an identity. When you have a structure and a plan, putting in the pieces is not so difficult. And you're also able to argue to the people up there that, look, this is what I would want to do. Let's not kid ourselves. Milovan Rajevac wanted Sule Muntahi sacked from the Black Stars camp in South Africa in 2010. They had to take government officials to speak to him that he could rock the boat of unity in the team. He told the boy this is what he wants. If he does it, he would play him. Sule did, and he delivered. Now, can CK Akonnor or any of the Ghana Beyond 8 coaches do this? No. Gary said they don't trust the coach. We had a similar incident in Egypt in the 2019 AFCON.
Yeah.
That after some minutes, these boys will now start playing according to their own plan and not what the coaches were shouting to them. So we lost the plot there. It's been the case until we go back and find the structure. We have a technical director. Where are we heading towards? We don't know. We have a senior A-team coach. Where are we heading towards? We don't know. And what is more worrying for every Ghanaian is the fact that CK Akonnor inherited the strongest Black Meteor squad we've had since Athens 2004. And trying to assimilate these boys into the national team has become a problem. We only have Yeboah and Gideon Mensah running around. Where are the rest? Nicolas Poku is injured. Zakaria Fusini is injured. Where is Kwabno Usu? Where is Osman Bukari? What has been the transition? So now every Ghanaian speaks, oh, Asamoah Gyan Niho, any. Now it's going to be a bane because we don't think we could replace him. Rajevac replaced Sule Muntahi with Dede Ayew. It was seamless. What are we trying to do? We knew Jonathan Mensah was going to replace John Mensah. There was a plan. Now here we are. The plan is that our spine is an aged spine. Dede is on the downside of 30. Jordan is approaching. And then it is frustrating. The funniest thing about Gary's bit was that we can reproduce these players from other countries. I sat in Egypt, in Ismailia, and asked myself 5 times, I couldn't get an answer. What in the name of God would propel Frank Zambo Anguissa to outplay Thomas Partey like this? I couldn't get an answer. He was supposed to be the top player in that game, but he couldn't fit. And I look back to 2008 in Ghana, how Anthony Annan managed to outplay Mikel Obi. The reason was quite simple. He had a coach who trusted him, and he trusted the coach. There was a structure that made his assimilation easy. The players around him trusted him, even though it was ACN, Sule, and the likes. Now here we are. We are in a big mess. And I'm borrowing Jerome's word to wrap this up. Ghana's Black Star is in a progressive decline.
You know,
and yeah, we're not missing words. I mean, yes, you're making the point.
George, I want to say something about the coaching issue. See, even the countries with, let's say, the best economies, those that have the financial strength to hire the best of coaches, when they decided to forget about the best of coaches and use their local coaches. What happened? This South African team we played, in the last few months, they were using a local coach. They saw that, look, it wasn't going to work. Even if they want to pay him so much, it was just not going to work. They've tried it over and over and over. It wasn't working. Now they've gone back to Europe. The problem I see with our coaching and our thinking is this. We seem to think that we can do the basic things. We can just go around doing elementary things like finding some $20,000-$25,000 for any of the coaches and get the same results that those who are paid 80, 100 plus are getting. It's not going to work. And here we are talking about the World Cup, where the best of players across the continent congregate to play qualifiers to get there, to see whether they can reach the ultimate. This afternoon, a friend I was watching the game with asked me, so what was the CAF president talking about when he said an African country will win the World Cup? Does it include the two countries we were watching? Because you can clearly tell that the quality is not there. So Ghana must begin to think big and appreciate that it is the World Cup we are talking about. If we want to get to the World Cup, even the investment must be looked at. Where are we investing? Are we investing in the best of technical teams so much that when it comes to the crunch, these technical teams can deliver? But if you hire a coach and you want to pay him $35,000 or $30,000, and after some months you reduce it to 20 or 25, after some months you are not even paying that coach what he's due. How do you want to qualify? These may be very little things that people might be dismissing, or we can even say it's negligible. It's not anything that has direct impact on what they are doing on the field of play. But I'm saying that the whole thinking, how we want to approach the World Cup and such serious competitions,
doesn't appear like
must
it's a plan.
also, yes.
Yeah, doesn't appear like it's a plan. Gary, how much of blame should the players take? Because I have seen in many quarters that, okay, we have working players. It's more about what the coach can make out of the players, how much he can get from the players. Or is it a case that the players don't want to play too?
If you look at the squad that we had, that was named, that eventually assembled for Ethiopia, for the Ethiopia game in Cape Coast, it was a very decent squad. Very decent squad. Even shorn off the big names, the so-called big names that went to South Africa, the team that started today, it was a decent squad. Now, I am very convinced that a lot of our problems are a coaching issue, George. Our back four. You want to give that back four to Jamil Belmadi of Algeria? The same back four. Pound for pound, player for player. There isn't much difference. In terms of form, not where they play. In terms of form, not where they play. Fatah Mohamed not playing well today can be likened to probably he himself, yes. But I look across the starting 11. The way a lot of Wakaso, we know what his strengths, his merits and demerits are. He's a passionate player, but he also flies into tackles indiscriminately. Does our coach tell Mubarak that, Mubarak, look, your long-range balls are good. You get the ball, touch it once, twice, hit. A player is coming to you. I mean, yes, it's a one-week camp. The instructions are clear. We are not the only national team that has a player in the mode of Wakaso. His passion is great, it must be harnessed. But tactically, he is not disciplined. I mean, everybody knows that. Everybody who watches him knows that. Would I say that take Wakaso out? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't take him out. It is a coaching issue. If Partey comes right now, do we get the best out of him and CK? No. So it is a coaching issue for me.
Right. You know, guys, I think we have made the point, and always when there are big problems, it's good to start from a point. And I think we are very clear on this call. I mean that the place to start from is sacking the coach. it's unfortunately somebody's job, somebody's daily bread, should I say. Okay, well, daily bread has not been paid for a while. But anyway, it is what we are saying, because we are looking at the national agenda and what's supposed to come. I have to say a big thank you, because I really wanted us to try and explain why CK Akonnor needs to lose his job. And we have done it in a fantastic fashion, giving him the benefit of doubt and looking at the situation and even trying to explain why it is in his own interest that this must happen. Thank you very much, Papa Poku, for joining me. You are still in your Black Stars jersey. That's brave. That's
I'm sober. I'm very sober.
It's the only national team we have. And we want to get to Qatar than them. They don't even know. They should know this. Gary Alsmith, thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the game.
The game I saw here.
Yeah.
Bolton Wanderers.
Okay, Bolton Wanderers. I understand. It's been a while since I Bolton Wanderers. Well, what I think, in fact, that Jerome, thank you very much for your time as well on this particular call. And we're definitely sure to do some more as we go through. So, guys, thank you very much. Hope this made a lot of sense and good sense, because we have been very, 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 very balanced and fair on this one. God bless our homeland, Ghana.